This is The Business Experience Show, where we connect those who want to know more about digital marketing, social media, and business strategy with entrepreneurs who are succeeding in today's marketplace. Follow our blog, join our online network, or connect with us at thebusinessexperienceshow.com. And now, your host, Lisa Caprelli.
Welcome to the Business Experience Show. I'm Lisa Caprelli. With me is my host, Brian Gaps. Today we have a very special guest. She's a mother and an author. Her viral YouTube video has 26 million views. She was a featured guest on The Ellen Show, and she has appeared in a Microsoft Super Bowl commercial. Her book, Powered On, The Sounds I Choose to Hear and the Noise I Don't, is available on Amazon and other booksellers. She has a remarkable story, and we are thrilled to have her as a guest. Welcome, Sarah Churman. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, Sarah. Let's start with your story, which has taken the world by storm, and you as well, from what I've seen. How do you even go about describing in a nutshell what has happened these past few years?
That's always hard to do in a short amount of time, but basically I received hearing implants back in 2011, and due to circumstances, my husband filmed 90 seconds of the first implant being activated, and we posted it online for friends and family to see, and unbeknown to us, it got picked up and went viral. And long story short, it led to over 200 interviews worldwide and the chance to write a book.
And many people have seen the video of you being able to hear for the first time. And for those who haven't, can you describe the experience?
Honestly, every emotion that you can think of was running through me. You have the aspect of being scared because it's something new, even though it's something you want, it's something new and different. Mm-hmm. You know, I had gotten used to the world around me the way it was for 29 years. So all of that, you know, coming to a moment where it was about to be completely turned upside down and different, I was excited. I mean, just overly anxious and excited, wanting them to hurry up and turn it on to see what it was like. And, you know, just every other emotion in between those two was going through my mind. So that moment sitting there was just nerve-wracking.
Well, and I think that's a big part of the appeal of the video is that people are just really captured by your enthusiasm and your genuine reaction to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's it was just an amazing experience. And then the moment it was turned on, realizing right away that, number one, it worked, and that, number two, that I liked it.
So. Sarah, so your book, Powered On, what was the best part about writing it?
The best part about writing it was just being the fact that it was my own words and my story, and it was my life. So it made it easy and fun to write. You know, if you were to ask me to rewrite the story of Red Riding Hood and I'm having to make stuff up, that would be a lot more difficult for me. But just having kind of, I guess, a memoir, if you will, of, you know, that time period in my life and short snippets from growing up, you know, having that written down somewhere for my kids and grandchildren to be able to read years from now is a pretty cool thought.
And what was the challenging part about writing Powered On?
Challenging part was honestly not making it about 5,000 pages long. I'm horrible at giving the short version of anything. My husband teases me all the time because I'm just so descriptive and visual. And so as you're writing, wanting to try to give the reader, you know, a look inside your head is hard because you're trying to not drag it out and just kind of make it short and sweet, if you will.
So, Sarah, the media attention you got and the aftermath, was that attention difficult to deal with?
Absolutely. You know, we quickly realized, you know, within a couple of days of the video being posted and it going viral, we were contacted by the Today Show and Ellen Show and so many other news outlets, and reporters were showing up at the house, and our phones were ringing and our emails were blowing up. And so, you know, at first we thought, okay, this will die down after the Ellen Show, mm-hmm. and we quickly realized it wasn't dying down. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of sat down at our kitchen table one night and we're like, okay, we either need to shut this down now. Mm-hmm. You know, we're pretty much private people. We live off the grid. Mm-hmm. You know, we just kind of keep to ourselves. We live outside city limits. We're out in the country and, you know, like I said, private people. So it was like, okay, or do we look at this as, you know, we're given a platform? Is there something we could do here with this for the greater good? And so it just kind of steamrolled into becoming a way to try to number one, raise awareness to the deaf and hard of hearing community, but also for just anyone trying to overcome anything that isn't exactly physically seen to the rest of society, you know. And then also to try to get insurance companies on board to start to covering the device and other for hearing impaired people. So it gets hard navigating who you're going to talk to and who you don't want to talk to and who is, you know, has your best interests at heart and stuff. So that's been difficult to navigate. But for the most part, we've only had good experiences.
Well, and that's another remarkable chapter to your story, is that this happened about 4 years ago is when all this started exploding for you. In that time, in an era where people are just looking for their 15 minutes of fame, it found you. You weren't even looking for it, but yet you haven't turned it into any sort of capitalism or any sort of opportunity like that. You really just use it as an opportunity to help others in your position, or just to spread awareness, which is remarkable as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I mean, my heart is for children and early intervention for deaf and hard of hearing children. And then my heart also is just the beauty of hope. And that's basically what my book revolves around. You know, it is my story, and it is about being deaf and hard of hearing and all those experiences you go through. But the basis of it is just the beauty of hope. And so while it would be awesome to somehow make a lot of money and travel the world and stuff, we've just tried to not be, I guess, a sellout, quote unquote. Right. But yes, sir, just kind of, it happened organically from the beginning. And so we've just kind of let it continue on organically. And we've turned a lot of things down that we felt like we're going to, like if the heart behind the whole reason we're doing this isn't what something is about, then we turn it down. So.
Yeah, I love that humbleness about you, Sarah. We'll be right back. We're talking with Sarah Churman. You're listening to The Business Experience Show. I'm Lisa Caprelli. With me is co-host Brian Gapps. Has your website become a lazy employee? I'm Lisa Caprelli, author of the Amazon bestseller, Color Your Message, and consultant to forward-thinking CEOs. It's time to get your website performing for your business the way customers expect it to. We get serious about content, links, formatting, and everything the search engines expect to find with today's top-ranking websites. Glossy websites can help. Put your website back to work for your business. Visit glossywebsites.com for a free consultation. Write it down. That's glossywebsites.com. Welcome back to the Business Experience Show. I'm Lisa Caprelli. With me is my co-host, Brian Gapps. We are talking with Sarah Churman. You also say in your book that most people don't know how important tone is and how sound and noise are different from one another. Talk about these points.
Yes, a lot of people don't realize, you know, oftentimes I get told, but you speak so well for someone who was hard of hearing and deaf your whole life, or, you know, things like that. And there's a lot that goes into it. People don't realize how important body language is, the rise and fall of a chest, watching the way someone's mouth moves, their tongue placement, their teeth placement. You are so in tune and focused on people and trying to mimic everything and do everything correctly. And then the other aspect to that is tone is everything. So something can be said, but depending on the tone to it as to how it's taken, you know, if it's sarcastic, if it's funny, if it's rude, if it's sweet, you know, if it's sad, things like that. So people don't realize how much you missed out on.
It sounds like, because I love that topic of tone, and I talk about it all the time in my family and my business and relationships. And when I read that stood out to me. And I feel there's a certain awareness you have when you are in an observing mode versus just having someone just give you. There's like an art to giving and receiving information and communication.
Yes, ma'am. And I think people just oftentimes don't realize how, like I said, how much work is involved in that, or how aware of your surroundings you do have to be in those kinds of situations. And
do you feel that your awareness was certainly heightened, but now that but now in this new era for you, are these like super abilities for you? I mean, are you able to use those skills as well?
Yes, and sadly, you know, I try to hold on to all of that and not lose any of it, but you definitely are more sensitive to vibration, and you're paying closer attention to the world around you because you are lacking in other areas. So definitely, and I try not to lose any of that, but I do notice as the years have gone on that I am less sensitive to it, unfortunately. So I still try to work on that, because to me it's kind of like knowing another language. It's always cool to have an extra crayon in your box, I guess is a way to say it.
And speaking of other languages, this struck me that I saw you lived in China, and people think of sign language and as being maybe universal, but there's different dialects. Like it's different for each country. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And that was something that was very hard for me when we lived in China and we had to try to learn the language and stuff. I pretty much gave up because the Mandarin language is so tonal. And so it was so hard for me. And so my husband would work with me on key phrases and things, like trying to get around and buy things and eat and things like that. But it was extremely hard for me over there. But if I didn't, I had him to rely on. So that was my main way of getting around.
Sarah, you have also said that growing up deaf forced you to stay in the present moment. This is so important in the rush kind of society, worrying about tomorrow and everything. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Being deaf for so long, you kind of become, and I always called it or described it like you're inside yourself so much. If you can't really pick up on what's going on in the world around you or conversations or things like that, then you just kind of stay inside yourself, So, I could be sitting in the chaos of a family party somewhere with everything going on around me, and I'm sitting there just thinking about, what I want to cook for dinner tonight, or thinking about a book I read last night. Being able to tune out the world around you and just sit and enjoy the moment, I guess, within yourself. It's just kind of taught me to turn off everything around you. And still to this day, my hearing implants have a remote, so I can turn them off. And so I do get overwhelmed at times and things like that, and I either just retreat to a quiet area or just turn my ears off and just kind of have time to myself, time to reflect.
So would you say there's like an art to turning that off and being present that you've kind of mastered, that maybe you wish other people could master?
I wouldn't say I've mastered it. I'm still guilty of picking up a cell phone and playing a game or getting distracted by, things on TV or things like that. I guess I would say maybe I've had more practice at it than most, and because I was forced into doing that, really. I guess it'd be kind of like if you did an experiment and you had to wear earplugs for, a week straight, and you could not take those earplugs out. Then it would force you to do other things that maybe you didn't normally do before.
That's a good analogy.
And Sarah, do you still have the same circle of friends that you've had all along?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That hasn't changed at all. So it's just, of course, just the natural ebb and flow of friendships. I've lost some and I've gained some just since then, but that's just, growing up, and people come and people go. But no, that hasn't changed at all for the most part for my close group of friends. That's just, they realize now that I don't require as much help as I did before, and that, things are easier in a lot of sense.
As they say, no good deed goes unpunished. And even in your remarkable and uplifting story, you've had a share of controversy. How have you handled that?
Whether it's just blissful ignorance or God's blessing or just the way I'm built, I just feel like that's life. There's always going to be the negative with the bad. There's always going to be, the people out there that aren't happy and want to try to discredit anything and everyone. So, whether it's my blissful ignorance and just thinking that that's just life, and that anyone who achieves anything or does anything or, there's always going to be the negative. So for the most part, water off a duck's back. I just try to ignore it and go on.
No, you're right, I think. Also, do you ever feel like you've walked in another person's shoes?
I do. I kind of feel, and that kind of goes back to that being divided in two worlds. I do feel like that. And, some people think that that's arrogant to say, but I genuinely do feel like that. I spent the first 29 years of my life living my life a certain way, having a certain routine, needing help in certain areas, and adapting in a different way. And so it's almost like, I've always said being reborn at the age of 29 and getting to do life again in a different way with different assets and stuff. So for me, I do honestly feel like that, much as, I would feel like a person who had been in a wheelchair for half their life and then getting prosthetic limbs and being able to walk or something like that. I equate it to something like that. It's life-changing. It's life-altering. It changes your routine. It changes how you do things. It changes your personality. It's given me self-confidence and boosted my self-esteem, and, it's changed me in a lot of ways. So.
Well, good for you. You've handled it very well. I think that's part of the appeal. I love your story and the continuation of it. What are the next steps? You said you had to edit your book. Is there another book on the horizon? Or what's next?
Man, I often joke every time I speak that God has given me a lantern, and I have 18 inches of light that I can see. And I walk that 18 inches, and then I wait for 18 more inches of light. And the whole cliche, flying by the seat of your pants, I kind of live that. I honestly, I don't have any expectations for what tomorrow brings, and I usually don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I didn't know the first book was going to happen, so if there's going to be a second book, that's all in his timing. I would love the opportunity, but not sure what I would write about.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for being with us today on the Business Experience Show. And if you'd like more information about Sarah Churman, where can we find more information about you, Sarah?
I have a Facebook page. I'm the only Sarah Churman in the U.S. and on Facebook, so I'm easy to find that way.
Okay.
And all my contact info is on there. So that's pretty much the best way. I also have a blog, but I'm horrible. I'd rather be outside fishing than inside stuck at the computer. So I haven't updated that in a while, but
thank you. And your book is where's the best place to buy your book?
You can purchase that from Indigo River Publishing.
Okay.
Amazon. You can contact me directly for a signed copy.
The book is called Powered On: The Sounds I Choose to Hear and the Noise I Don't. And that wraps this edition of the Business Experience Show with Sarah Churman. Her name is Sarah, last name Churman, Churman. Thank you to segment producer Ryan Hawkes and team Zara Safdar, Jaden Holder, Matthew Melton. You've been listening to the Business Experience Show. We look forward to seeing you on the next edition.